Today, we're removing this old trim and we're upgrading to Drywall Returns. But the question is, how do you reinforce the returns and do you really need the tearaway L-bead? Well, the answer, it's gonna surprise you. All that and more right now. I can already see that we have a bit of a problem here with this window, and this is typical for a retrofit installation. I have a window liner here that is attached to the window. I can't remove it without damaging my window. It's made out of wood. So what can we do? We're actually gonna have to just work around this and figure it out as we go. This will be a typical problem for a lot of windows. Now, if you can remove your jambs, you can just follow along with this retrofit install that I'm gonna be doing. We will give you all the solutions. There we go. If you're new to construction or renovation, this area right here is your wall plane, and this is the plane of your window, and right here is what we call the return, and that's where those angles meet. This window here is put in square, which is perfect, but look at this. This is my daylight test. You see that? My drywall, do you see the daylight shining through? It's crooked. Now, if you're new to this as a DIYer, you might think, well, this is sticking forward. I might have to shave this down. Don't do that. We're gonna fix this actually with our trims and with our mud. So the first measurement we're gonna need is our header, which is the top part of our window. We're gonna get that from left and right. And I'm just gonna subtract about 1/4 of an inch. And so we're gonna need 66.5 inches for our top measurement. And you also wanna get the depth of your window as well. So in an ideal world, you guys would be able to remove this. I'm looking for my measurement 5.5, and I'll subtract 1/4 inch for the depth. And to make a little space here for this lip so my drywall sits flush, I've just routered a little channel in the back of my drywall, and I'm gonna fit it in now. And I've got some screws that I will get started. I'm using 1.25 inches, slightly recessed up in there. For my screws, for a piece like this, I'm just doing a zigzag pattern, a staggered pattern. Now, after you've done your header, you can install your sill. You can use a 1/2 inch moisture-proof drywall or even a tile backer board. That also works. And now we can move on to the sides and get our measurement. Now, I'm just using this as a temporary gauge because I'm doing something special with this window in our next video. So at this point, I'm just gonna fit my sides in, and you can see I've left a little bit of a gap on the side. That's where I'm gonna slide in my L channel and get our screws in. Just shift it a little bit on me. There we go. I've left a little bit of a gap here where our window is. And you do not have to worry about moisture here with your windows. These are new windows, so it's not an issue. And the L channel is gonna take care of that, so it's never drywall sitting against your window. So now that we've installed the drywall along our opening, we can get on to our L trim, which looks like this, also known as the tearaway trim, because part of it tears away, this part there. So if you can't get the tearaway trim, you can actually just use a regular L trim. This entire house has tons of L trim, and the drywall contractor didn't use any tearaway. This is really recommended for DIYers or also professionals who want something a little bit easier, but you don't have to use it if you can't find it. We have a gap here. We're just gonna install the trim like so. We're gonna get that. We're looking for a 45 here and a 45 here. You can also use little offcuts to get your measurements. And I'm just gonna bring it down, and I'm gonna line it up there. And you can just mark it with a pen if you're not really good. And I'm just going to use some tin snips here and cut at a 45-degree angle. We're just gonna take spray adhesive, getting it on mud legs on the inside there. And I'm using gloves spraying outdoors because this stuff is sticky. So I'm just gonna slide the L trim into the gap, pushing up. And this spray adhesive is actually super good. It's really, really good. Push that in with my gloved hand. This works really well, and all you need to adhere this is your glue and also the staples. Now, sometimes people are like, is that enough? I should throw screws in there. Do not throw screws in here. This is actually designed specifically to be installed with glue and with your staples. I like to start in the corner, make sure that it is lined up exactly where you want it. staple in the corner. And then you're supposed to go every 6 inches. And there we go. So these vinyl trims are my favorite way of finishing a window. Sometimes you can't get vinyl trims, and you can do it with metal. I actually don't like working with metal. It's not as user-friendly as vinyl. And vinyl is very resilient and durable. If you ever have something that's a little saggy, throw in another staple. It's not gonna hurt anything. What you want is this trim to be perfectly straight to the eye. That is what's key. We have our adhesive, and I have a bit of a rhyme. Big side, so the big side of the channel goes window side. Sometimes you might forget, big side, window side. So we're gonna fit that in, and we're looking just for our corners to match up nicely. And stick this in, apply some pressure. So it's time to install our corner bead now at our header, but we have a problem. This part of the corner bead is called your mud leg, and it has to hide this gap right here, but take a look at the problem. Okay, see that? I have a gap here. I cannot mud this, so I have to go now to the drywall store and get mud legs that are extended. So I'm gonna staple this up right now, temporarily, and then get on with the rest of our window. And I will start at the corner once I have my angle established and it looks good. Now I'm finishing the interior corners with paper only because I can get a really crisp edge with paper. Some people might want to use vinyl. It's entirely up to you. You're gonna start at the top, of course, and then we're gonna move on to our sides. And we're just trying to fill those mud legs up with good old mud, as they say, right? So you can do that. Apply a little bit more as you go. So that is what that bead is doing. See that? It's stopping the mess. So I'm gonna spread it out, lay it on, push it in, and keep going from one side all the way down to the other. And on your sides here, clean this up. Clean up your sides. If you have any ridges, not bad for a first coat. If you have a line or two, you can leave it. We'll hit that up later. I'm gonna start by filling in like that. You can give it a swipe, push in. We want all the mud to go in there. That's gonna help bond our corner bead to our wall. And if you haven't worked with vinyl, it's my favorite for corner beads because it's really, really, really strong and very easy to work with. You can go back the other way too. This wall is wonky. It's totally wonky, so I'm actually gonna have to feather this out because this wall is crooked. This window is sitting proud of the drywall, which just means it's sitting forward of the drywall. So I'm actually gonna have to skim the drywall. See how I'm going further back? It's because our window is sitting forward of the drywall. So I'm just gonna push that into the corner bead. Push that in. There you go. Clean your knife, and then you can just hit that up, get rid of all those ridges if you want. At this point, I'm just gonna remove our corner bead, and you can see I have a big gap here, and that's a problem because I cannot fill that with mud. So what do you do in a situation like this? Well, you're gonna upsize your corner bead to jumbo. This is jumbo corner bead. And take a look at the difference. That is 1 3/4 inches, and that is enough to bridge the gap between the plane of our window and the plane of our wall to give us a nice solid return. Let's get some mud on that and see how it looks. Now I just put a little bit of mud on our corners, and what you can do here is reinforce your drywall returns, especially here in the corner. Just gonna take some fiber mesh tape, spread out some mud there, and I'm just gonna go across my corners and then put some more mud on there so that it disappears within the wall. Now remember the bow that was right here in my wall? Well, I've actually had to apply a lot of mud, so I'm gonna reinforce that with some mesh tape, and I'm just applying that over top of my corner bead where the corner bead meets the drywall. And I'm doing this to prevent future cracking. Put my finger on my tape very gently. I'm gonna go over my mesh tape and apply a very thin layer over that tape. And already that's starting to disappear nicely into my wall. And as you can see, this is L trim. Am I using tearaway? No. If you want to use tearaway, go ahead, but you actually don't really need to. Keep it clean. That will all sand down and you can still get a nice clean edge. Now at this point, all I've done is I've given my window a nice light sand and then 2 coats of mud. At that point, you can simply remove your tearaway trim at the top. We're gonna just get that nice crisp edge there at our header at the top of our window and down the other side. Now for more modern home updates, be sure to take a look at this video right here. I'll see you in the next one.